Leah Mouvell is on the line. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Adam. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Atlantic Regional Organizer for the Youth Climate Corps. I mentioned the budget, and now I'm going to re-mention it because there was money in the federal budget for the Youth Climate Corps campaign. Give us a brief explanation. Remind us what that is, and then tell me about your reaction to where things are at with the budget.
Yeah, thank you. So the Youth Climate Corps is a campaign to create a new public jobs program for people 35 and under to help our communities tackle the climate crisis. These would be 2-year paid training and work placements, and they would fall into 3 broad categories. The first, well, in no particular order, but reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So this is things like retrofitting, building small-scale renewable energy. Another is building community resilience, things like ecosystem restoration, wildfire prevention, and forest management, and also emergency response. So people who can be on the ground to help respond when climate emergencies hit and to make sure people are looked after in those times. So after years of campaigning by hundreds of young activists and many allies, we broke into Budget 2025. We're proud of what has been a hard-fought win, and we're ready to work with the federal government to help this program reflect the vision and the values of the young people who have shaped it and fought for it. That vision and those values include some founding principles that you can learn more about on the website greenjobsforall.ca. Some of them being centering this program on Indigenous knowledge, sovereignty, and empowering strategically under-resourced communities. And so we're ready to get to work. Alongside our joy in seeing the YCC come to life and our gratitude toward everyone who came together to make it possible, and that includes hundreds of volunteers, hundreds of endorsing organizations, and allies in Parliament, of whom there were many in Atlantic Canada, we're no less aware that we won this program in a budget that generally fails on climate and social policy.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you, right? Because I started the show talking about the Fossil of the Day award out of COP, which is the bad award, like a Razzie award for film or something. So this is what Canada was getting from the conference on climate change. But then at the same time, there's money for something that you folks have been fighting for a long time. And so I was really curious about where how you looked at the budget through a climate lens.
Yeah, I mean, the climate section of this budget is scant. Our program is not in the climate section of this budget. It's in a section about it's in a section that is more about jobs and tackling the affordability crisis. And so it's being housed with employment and social development with that ministry. And we're seeing in this budget big increases in military spending, continued subsidies to fossil fuel companies that drive the climate crisis, cuts to social programs, neglect of the climate crisis, and cuts to immigration. So like I said, while I am proud and hopeful that we were able to push this program into being, for me, the budget does not match the aspirational tone of Carney's rhetoric or his commitments to invest in a strong, clean, and fair future for young Canadians. And it makes me wonder what kind of nation we're endeavoring to build with this budget and who we're building it for. Military spending isn't going to save us from extinction. Subsidizing the fossil fuel industry won't prevent its inevitable and ongoing collapse. Neglecting the climate crisis won't protect us from its impacts, and cuts to immigration won't change the government neglect that has led to the housing crisis, crumbling healthcare infrastructure, and high unemployment and inequality. So we have to reject the scapegoating of migrants by politicians for problems that they have the power, authority, and resources to correct. So all this to say, the budget has failed to convince me that this government plans to take things in a life-affirming direction. Winning the YCC pilot has been like a small, foggy window of hope, hard-fought hope, And like I said, we are ready to work with the federal government to expand that window in a time that can and does sometimes feel hopeless. And on that note, I want to thank my friends in the studio and our broader climate and social justice organizing communities that are made up of so many inspiring people working hard every day to offer hope, connection, solidarity, knowledge, skills, and resources in the face of these intersecting crises. And we hope that this program will provide a pathway for young people who are looking to roll up their sleeves and get to work helping their community in the face of the climate crisis with a pathway to local and sustainable and meaningful work, which is something we really need here in this province where, I mean, we face a higher than average, consistently higher than average unemployment rate. Right now, youth unemployment rate across the country is higher than it's been in decades, and it's higher than average here. And a lot of us are forced to leave the communities we care about to find financial security and reliable work. And what we'd really like to see, because Adam, the funding committed in this budget is only going to create 350 living wage positions per year across the country. So it's not enough to meet the intersecting crises of climate and youth unemployment, and it even falls short of the Liberals' own commitment in their platform. So we've called for 20,000 positions to start and a commitment to scale with demand, because we're aware that young people understand the threats we face and they're ready to serve our communities. And we expect this pilot program is going to reach capacity fast. What we hope is that this will serve as a push for its expansion. And we also want to see the provincial government of Newfoundland and Labrador come to the table and cost match this program so that more young people in NL can access this pathway to local and meaningful and sustainable work at home.
Leah Mauville, thank you so much. I always appreciate you coming on the show, giving an update, and the fact that we've had conversations before, you've been a guest before, and you've talked to me about the Youth Climate Corps and the potential. And now to be at a point where something is starting, I look forward to continuing this conversation as things get built up and built out. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Adam. I really appreciate it.
All right. Be well. So there you go, right? You know, you talk to folks. It's funny, right? You spend a couple of years in a seat, and you're like, oh, you know, this thing we want this thing, and then all of a sudden, even though there's a lot to unpack with what was just said there, for like, hey, looking at the budget and what it actually means for climate, but there is something there, and there are jobs to be talked about. I find that interesting.